All right, you guys, I want to talk about something that's a little unsettling, the role of kids in content creation. Now, most of you guys know that I got my start on YouTube in the family space in 2014, and back then it was a completely different place than it is now. It felt much more wholesome and unscripted, but it was also kind of the wild, wild west. And so there were a lot of things that were happening back in the day that created this new environment for YouTube family creators. I'm sure that a lot of you guys have seen this stuff on Ruby Franke and her kids. One of the things that I haven't really talked about is that we were actually friends with them somewhat. My wife was friends with Ruby up until, things started getting weird, and then we're just like, but we've been over to their house, had pizza. Our kids have played with their kids. Traumatizing. Very sad to see how that thing turned out. I want to talk today about, some things that I'm noticing again. I think that it's shifting for the good. Everything in the family space looks wholesome, right? From an outside perspective. I've seen some very dark things happening behind the scenes. There's a different story that plays out when you get a whole bunch of family creators together and the adults are in charge of making sure that the kids are performing. And so you get a lot of these like stage parents. You have a lot of parents that are on YouTube because they're insecure and they need validation for the things that they're doing, and they want everybody to look at their kids and say, oh my gosh, this kid is so amazing. Family is so perfect and beautiful. And in all honesty, this is really why we got out of the family space, because we were starting to see some of that happen. And YouTube was also perpetuating it by rewarding channels for doing scripted content, for doing content where you're faking illnesses or faking injuries or things like that, putting your kids in scary situations. And we're just like, we don't want to play that game. We played it a little bit. We didn't want to play that game for the rest of our lives or the rest of our YouTube career. And I think that YouTube is about to make a big shift just based off the whole Ruby Franke situation and some of what their daughter Sherry is talking about in Congress and on social media. So the question is, where is the line? How far is too far? In this video, I want to try and break that down. So there's this video that I saw not too long ago, Costco guys. They were working with some other influencer, and the dad kept stopping the production to correct the other influencer and to correct his son because they were saying things not in the way that the dad wanted them to be said. I can kind of tell who is looking for the validation, who's looking for the fame. And the son, as a teenager, is probably buying into it because he wants to make dad happy. But to me, it feels like dad is pulling all the strings, is the puppet master. I've never met these guys. I don't know. This is all speculative. I'm watching it from third party, but being involved in that industry gives me a little PTSD. I'm not going to lie. Like, I've seen guys, dads, parents act like that, and it doesn't lead to good things. If you could have a glimpse in my mind and see all the things that I've seen, affairs, child abuse, not accusing anybody. I'm just saying like what I perceive as emotional child abuse and verbal, like yelling at kids to get the line right, get the effing line right. Like, that's crazy stuff. That's dark. Okay. Costco guys, they were filming this thing, multiple takes. It didn't look like it was fun. It wasn't spontaneous. The kids and the other creator didn't look like they were enjoying themselves. Maybe they were, again, speculative, but it felt like they were being made to perform rather than just being kids or creators. So this begs the question again, how far are people willing to go for internet fame? Family channels, they weren't always like this. Platforms like YouTube and TikTok exploded. They made it easy for anyone to create content, and that's a good thing. But naturally, some families start to come on, and people who have emotional damage, I can't say that without saying that, are some of the first people to go on there. They had dreams of being in the spotlight, and I will admit, I had dreams of being famous when I was a kid. So that drove some of the reason why I wanted to be on YouTube. And then I realized how toxic it is, and I'm just happy and content doing my thing. I don't need to have millions and millions of subscribers to feel good about myself. I'm 40 years old. I've got a beautiful family. I've got successful business. I don't need to be in the spotlight to feel good about myself, to have confidence. But some people do. And unfortunately, there's a formula for growing content. Channels like the Costco guys have made a name for themselves by showing what seems like everyday life, but doing things in a loud and obnoxious way. To give you even more of a glimpse behind the scenes, the kids that are involved in YouTube channels are often put into awkward situations, long film sessions, long days, not just memorizing lines, but oftentimes not having any organization at all, where the parents are just like, say this, do this. And if they do it wrong, there isn't a script. It's not about capturing real, authentic moments anymore. It's about curating moments. And the kids ultimately are trapped. They got to keep smiling. This is their parents. They don't have work hours. They got to keep pretending that they're having fun. One of the things that my kids said to me that broke my heart in the middle of filming, one of my daughters said, Dad, why do we only do do fun things when we're filming. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're right. And now we don't do any fun stuff anymore. No, I'm just kidding. You know, I turn the camera on, we film, we have fun. And then I turn the camera off, and then I go and edit. And we only have fun when we're turning the camera on. Or we only turn the camera on when we're having fun. Or we always turn the camera on when we're having fun. And that's when the lines get really blurry. When the goal becomes crafting the perfect image, are kids even really living real lives? Or is everybody just acting for the cameras? It's just the Truman Show. Let's talk about the money side of things. I'm not gonna sugarcoat this. Some family channels are cash cows. And the more the kids are involved, the more relatable and engaging the content becomes, which translates into more views and more ad revenue and more sponsorship deals and more merch sales. Channels like the Costco guys have built entire empires around their family-friendly content, but they're turning everyday life into a profitable business. What's the cost of that? Family time gets replaced with production schedules. Kids become performers, and the pressure for kids is so much that these kids are growing up and they're just like, I'm out. I never want to do this again. Look at John and Kate + 8 and how damaged their children are now because they had one crazy narcissistic mother. I don't know, just from what I've seen, I have no idea. Speculative, getting speculative. And the pressure to keep up with fame turns everyday normal people into these like child stars, and that can be completely damaging for a child's psyche as they're growing up. And then from the financial side, who gets the money? Most of the time it's just going into the adults' accounts. We had to set up separate bank accounts for our kids for certain brand deals because the brands were going to pay the kids and the adults weren't allowed to touch them, which is great. I totally 100% agree with that. But again, the lines are blurred when kids are asked to perform in a family channel, do the family business, and are they getting compensated? I don't know. I know this sounds like I'm on a mission to disrupt the family space, and that's not my mission. Some families use their success to improve their lifestyle. Some families use the success to give their kids opportunities that they might not otherwise had. These kids are learning how to work. They're learning how to do hard things. They're learning a skill that actually is very marketable, 2024, 25 moving forward. But picture this, right? If every day becomes about shooting content, and when you're shooting content, the kid is forced to do scene after scene, doing it over and over just to get it right. There's nothing like fun about it. I mean, if you ask my kids about creating content, like my kids will create content and sometimes they get millions of views, but when it becomes not fun anymore, then they stop because it's work. And this is what parents are doing to their children in the family space, or some are. The deeper issue here, you guys, is how does this affect the kids themselves? Remember that viral video a while back where the dog needed to have surgery and the mom was like trying to force her kid to cry for the thumbnail?
Down, put your head down here. Act like you're crying really quick.
I am crying. Mom, I'm actually seriously crying.
No, I know, but go like this for the video.
Super awkward. The kid's discomfort was on full display. The whole thing just felt wrong. It's stuff like this that makes you wonder what happens to a child when they're raised in front of a camera. What happens when their entire childhood becomes content for the world to consume? And these kids don't fully understand the implications of being in the public eye, right? They feel like it's all exciting in the moment and they feel like they're having fun with their parents, but it's all that kids want to do, right? My son, anytime I come out of this room, he's like, Dad, you done with work? I'm like, no, bud, I still have to work, but he just wants to hang out with me. When you blur those lines and work becomes the fun that you have with your kids, then when your kids grow up, they harbor resentment because they weren't actually having fun. You were forcing them to work the whole time and everything was for show. And then on top of that, these kids don't get to decide if their tantrums or their mistakes or their most private moments are going to be broadcast to millions. And this is what Sherry Frankie was talking about. In a recent address in front of Congress, she talked about how her mom never gave them any privacy. Like she had to share the most intimate details of her life and puberty and things that she was doing as she was raised. Again, they might enjoy the attention in the moment, but what happens when you grow older? What happens when they start craving privacy? And here's the part that no one likes to talk about. Child stars have a history of struggling with their mental health as they grow up. The pressure, the scrutiny, it takes a toll. We've seen it in Hollywood, and there's no reason to think that kids on YouTube are immune to the same issues. They just haven't hit that break point yet, or maybe nobody's paying attention. So let's talk about authenticity, right? Or rather the lack of it. For many family channels, it's not about capturing genuine moments, it's about maintaining the image. They're chasing the next viral video, and in that race, authenticity gets lost. Staging, writing, scripting, and forced reactions, the kids aren't always having fun. They're just going along with it because they want to please their parents, their heroes. This whole thing with Sherry Frankie and the things that she's trying to get out there, I 100% 100% support it. I want families to be responsible with the way that they treat their kids. I want kids to also be able to say like enough is enough. So anyway, if you support that cause, please consider sharing this video. Again, like no pressure. I'm not out there to like make this go viral or anything like that. You know, we were in that industry. We watched it happen. We hung out with some of these people, and I just want to take care of the kids. See you guys.